Okay, so today we are basically um, rebooting, you might say, this scene. I've taken this scene and somewhat of a fiasco that has been working in Blender and Krita and brought the relevant layers into OpenToonz. And as you can see, when it actually renders, the raylet effect is pretty cool. I had to decouple the positioning of the center of this effect from the layer. It was attached to Akari, and instead I attached it to the if I remember correctly, I think I attached it to the room. No, the floor and wall, because when Akari moves for the simulated camera move, which we can see here, if we go along, you can see that we just moved Akari, changed her position to simulate that camera move. And so we really didn't want the center of that effect to change. So we'll see how that looks when it's finally rendered, because it may look kind of hokey by not moving at all. Everything else moves relative to it, but we shall see. So I had been dinking around yesterday with the idea of taking this graphic that represents the floor and wall and turning it around in the 3D space in Blender and kind of make it work from the top point of view. And of course that was an exercise in utter and complete stupidity. So with that, I jumped over to GIMP. Now and what I actually did was I just did a screenshot of the relevant frame from OpenToonz. Okay, so I'm going to just kill all these layers. Okay, and because of the blending mode, that's why you can't see them. But in any case, I brought this into GIMP, and then I actually locked the layer. So I want to say something about GIMP. GIMP 2.10. Where's the About screen? Okay, GIMP 2.10.4. Now this is kind of funny because if I'm not mistaken, GIMP was at 2.8. Okay, so normally in computer parlance, when you go from 2.8, 2.9, 3.0 would be the natural progression. Now in the case of GIMP, it's kind of a little strange actually, but what they're doing is they went from 2.8 to 2.10. So they're actually, logically, and it would be 2.08, 2.09, 2.10. Well, anyway, the good folks at GIMP decided to go to 2.10, but I will tell you that GIMP 2.10 is very good. It's got a lot of the features you see in Krita, but they're implemented let's just put it this way: the people that develop GIMP move real slow. And so when they do a release, I would personally say that generally it seems like you can count on it being pretty robust. So anyway, having said that, what I did was, let's turn on this group. I basically just created this masked area and then drew a bunch of lines on here. And then actually, to show this in order, I added a couple gradients in order to give the sense of the light coming in. I also added some texture to the floor. And you got to remember, in the final scene, this is going to be really dark, so we don't have to really get this looking fantastic, down to the molecule. But then what I did was I added a bunch of layers to adjust the shadowing, and then similarly a layer to dilute the saturation, a layer to shift the color just a bit, and then a layer to darken everything. And then of course I turned this off. One of the cool things, now see, you can argue this, GIMP GIMP wants to save in its own format, which is a good thing because you have layers, groups. You know, it's a deep format, the XCF format. So if you save in GIMP, it's going to save as an XCF. If you want it to be a PNG or a JPEG or something else, you need to export. So that was somewhat clunky in GIMP 2.8, but in 2.10, you can just use the hotkey. You can literally go like this. I can take this shot that I want to save out as a PNG, but I also want to preserve all these layers in case I need to go in and change something. So you just hit Control S and then Control E. That's it. Once it's been saved one time, Control S saves the XCF, Control E exports the PNG. And then in OpenToonz, you can just you do have to reload the project. So if this shot was if this shot had a modified background image, I would have to go to the recent scenes and just reload it in order for OpenToonz to like refresh and show me the updated graphic. But you know, that's just one step. Okay, so with that, let's do a quick review on what we have in terms of the animation so far. I'm gonna click on this layer or level. I'm gonna set auto markers. Let's just go back to the beginning and hit the old L key to loop. So her eyes open. We do need to redo her eyes, of course. I'm just not happy with them. And probably when we edit, this timing is going to be adjusted. But okay, so this guy comes in. This guy comes in. So that's, you know, it's doing what we wanted it to do. So that's cool. So this sequence, which is what I call it, is effectively 3 shots, if you will. So we've dealt now pretty well with the baked-in camera movement based on the grease pencil layers that came out of Blender. Okay, so all this ink was done in Blender and the paint was done in Krita, which, as in my prior rants, I've explained in detail why I don't plan to work that way again. But and I'm not going to say those programs are, you know, should be dismissed summarily, because that's not true. They're actually awesome programs, but they have some bugs and idiosyncrasies that make them a little problematic for the kind of work I'm trying to do. So anyway, what we need right here is the ground. And I think that it should be interesting. I'm going to save all and load up the previous project. So now what I intend to do is find there's a couple ways I could do this. I could find the image that was used in a prior scene, and in terms of workflow, if I'm gonna stick to my current plan, what I would do is I would actually take the graphic from a prior shot. So let me just explain this. This is kind of a idiosyncratic workflow I have chosen. So right now I'm using the Fast Stone image viewer here to just browse and look at images. But what I'm doing is in the main project the main folder for the project, I have a folder called Shots, and then Shots. And I haven't been rigorous in implementing this, so we're kind of in the process of starting to do it more strictly. But the idea is that each shot in the show will have a commensurate folder, and all the assets, like here we have several image sequences that were exported out of either Krita or Blender. Here's the reference images for the vase that's going to almost fall. And then here are just some images that are static shots that we wanted to use in the particular shot. So by doing it that way, it's in editing films, especially with special effects shots and stuff like that, that's proven to be a good way to work. It uses more disk space. It does use more disk space because you're going to have, let's say you have a sound effect or you have an image that is pertinent to a given scene and you want to use it in a later scene. Well, at that point you have a choice. Are you going to import it, or let's say load it from the original scene and just leave it where it is? Or are you going to copy it into the folder for that new shot Well, if it's audio, you could probably load it because you're usually not going to be modifying audio. With images, it's a little more dangerous. If you pull a graphic out of a given folder and use it in this scene, and then let's just say you're in the throes of doing the work and you realize you need to edit the image, like I just did. What I did here was I realized it wasn't dark enough, and so I went in and made some modifications. Well, you don't want to accidentally just modify the image and you just destroyed that same image that was previously used in another scene 2 weeks ago, and then something comes up where you have to re-render that earlier scene, and now that image is wrong, and now you got to go and redo that work. So generally what I've found is disk space is cheap, so if I have an image that's useful, let's grab it from the folder of the scene it was originally used in, let's copy it into the new scene, and then use it from there. So my basic workflow is to take the Faststone image viewer like this and just drag and drop images into OpenToonz. At that point, OpenToonz will ask me if I want to import them or load them. Import means it's going to actually do the same thing I just described doing manually. It's going to copy that image from the folder you dragged it from and put it in the OpenToonz project or the folders that OpenToonz manages. I never do that. I don't import them. I load them. And that way, so I'm exerting a little more control over my file system. So anyway, enough said about that. What we're missing at this point is the ground. And I'm thinking if I go down into this sub-X sheet, this is probably the ground I'm looking for. So then the question is, what is that image? This is what I'm not totally sure how to taking assets from an earlier OpenToonz scene and bringing them into a later one has proven to be a fuzzy operation to me. It's not totally clear what works and what doesn't. So importing levels, for example, from one place to another. And I'm a little leery of it because I've had situations here in the last month where I reused some assets, and then for sort of inexplicable reasons, all of a sudden things I had done earlier was destroyed, basically, and work had to be redone. So there's something about the way, and this is why I'm managing my own files, there's something about the way that OpenToonz does it that's a little questionable. Doesn't always work seamlessly. As a software developer, I can kind of guess some reasons under the hood why that's happening, but you know, it's one of those things you would have to just take a whole day and sort of grok out and figure out what is OpenToonz doing well, what is it doing poorly, where's it making mistakes, and based on that decide what your workflow is going to be from there. I'm saying forget it. I'm just going to manage my own files. And so now the question becomes, how do I access this picture in OpenToonz? What I really want to do, what I'd like to do is just say that specific image, where is it located on the hard drive? Find it for me. That's what I would like to see happen in a perfect world. So what do? I'm going to try the file browser. Okay, so, and actually I'm just going to switch screens here. Okay, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Okay, switching screens. So how do we, I wonder if there's a way in OpenToonz to find a level on disk. So I'm grabbing that column, and it would probably be in the Toonz folder. Inputs maybe? Yeah, there's nothing there because most of my graphics are pulled from elsewhere. So I think this might be a bit of a fool's errand. I'm thinking what I should probably do is just pull up the Firestone image viewer, and this time around we're just gonna try to find it. So I think my most likely answer would be somewhere in the image references. It's either gonna be an image backgrounds, or it's going to be an image ref backgrounds. I basically have two large folders full of images that I need to merge. So this is just a bunch of references of well, obviously you can see what it is. It's castles and stuff like that. And I'm not really finding the image I was looking for. However, gosh, with some distortion, that one would work pretty well. So, we got effect shot plates. Yeah, like I said, you can see that there's a bit of organizing that needs to happen here. So this is the Kigompa exterior stone wall. Because for me, it's kind of the cardinal sin to save files and not know where you've saved them is like really stupid, right? The problem is that when you're working with OpenToonz, it's constantly managing a fair amount of stuff behind the scenes. Like every time you create a level, it creates a file on disk. So what I found is it's like chasing your tail to actually really keep track completely of what OpenToonz is doing. So you kind of have this trust relationship with OpenToonz. And like I said, I have not really gone to the trouble to go into all my files and reorganize them, which if you've been following this for the last few days, you can tell one reason why is that I've been kind of fighting with GIMP, with Blender and Krita. So anyway, this is, I want to say that this is the problem, the great problem I face right now. And I know it's going to come up over and over and over and over again. I have a shot. I have an image that's used in the shot. How do I get that image into another shot? And the whole thing hinges on knowing where the heck the images are stored. So I would hope there's a way to get OpenToonz to point to it for me. And I don't know what that would be. So, given that we can't seem to do that, it would be really nice if we could cut and paste. Okay, so it would probably be this image, and I'm going to hit copy. This is probably going to be a ridiculous thing to think this would work, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to actually literally jump into the other project and see if OpenToonz will let me paste it. It seems to have pasted something, but the image that's supposed to be referenced isn't there. Okay. Well, actually, let's see. This is where, again, I'm just kind of spitballing on some examples of things where I could see the workflow maybe being a little bit easier. At this juncture, I could look at the XML of the OpenToonz file. I could open that up in my programming editor and see what's going on here with column 8. Because what it would seem to be happening is that it's pointing to an image that it can't find. That's why the letters are red. Well, like I said, this stuff's going to come up over and over again. As time goes by, the less organized I am, the more I'm going to pay for it. So at this point, it so happens that this OpenToonz file is already loaded into my editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find COL8, column 8. Okay, there it is. And brick wall, oh, that's brick wall photo. Let's try to find it again. Let's find all in all open documents. Okay, so yeah, I'm just looking through to see. What I'm hoping is it's trying to reference the image, which will give me a clue where that image is, and then maybe I can go find it, make a copy of it, edit it a little bit if I need to, but you know, I just have to find the stupid thing first. So what I'm seeing here is a lot of references to column 8, but nothing that would indicate that column 8 contains an image. Okay, so just to be fair and make sure we're understanding what we're doing here, let me look up the word Akari and let's see what that finds us. Control F, A-K-A-R-I. Okay, and I'm going to find all in all open disk. Okay, yeah, so here we have a very different scenario. Okay, so, and indeed, there's a clear indication of the images that are being referenced and where they reside. So, and I should say, one thing I noticed, just if you're an OpenToonz user, this is something that you should be aware of. The sequence prior to the one I'm working on right now was a dozen, I think it might have been 13, but it was at least a dozen shots in a single OpenToonz file. Now when I looked in the task manager, OpenToonz is dancing around with 3.5 gig of memory. I mean, it's a big project file. Well, I deleted all the levels out of that project except one, because the one I kept was the one that's the next sequence of 3 shots that I'm working on right now. I looked at the file size of the XML file that represents the OpenToonz project file, the one with a dozen shots in it, the one with 1 shot in it. The files are the same size. In fact, if you open them up like I have here, you find they both have about 50,000 lines of text. So what does that tell me? That tells me that OpenToonz is not housekeeping very well. There is probably a lot of XML data in this project file that's completely erroneous. Hence, we have all these references to the image sequence of Akari sleeping. Well, in point of fact, there's only one reference in the actual OpenToonz project, and that's this one. It's the first shot, and frankly, that's just a static shot, so it's one image. It's not even a sequence. So, and to be fair, the way I did it was I took the project file, made a copy of it so I wasn't inadvertently damaging it, made a copy of it, opened the copy, then deleted everything and resaved it. So the point is, all of the old data that got deleted out of the OpenToonz file, it's still there. Is that a problem? Only in the sense that, I guess one thing we could look at is what's the memory usage status. Yeah, see, with the modified version, it's 270 megabytes. To be fair, yesterday it was the big project file was showing less than 800 megabytes, but then today I opened the same project and it was showing 3.4 gigabytes of memory. So not sure what's going on there, but so you can see the challenge here. It's tempting to stop the video just because who wants to sit and watch somebody fish around for image files? But that's where we're at. So I think maybe the best course of action, in my humble opinion, I'm going to go ahead and save this. I think the best course of action is going to be to pull one of these other images. Sorry, wrong file, or wrong program here. Pull one of these images off the disk and really tweak it into something completely different that can be credibly believed to be the ground. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Well, it's just got to be kind of noisy in the background. So I'm going to hit Shift C I'm going to crop it. Go ahead and crop it to here. We don't need this other stuff up top. Okay, and now let's scale guillotine. I don't know what that is. Slice the image. Oh, slicing. Yeah, that's not what I want. I'm getting used to the icons in GIMP 2.10. So I'm looking for the rotate because I know the scale will be right next to it. See, there it is. Yeah, they've completely changed the icons. It's not even the same. Okay, so now we're going to go image, fit canvas to layers. Yeah, that works. Okay, so now what I want to do is I actually want to use the warp tool. The warp tool is actually quite good in GIMP. I just want to squish stuff around in order to make it sort of, I'm basically trying to make it look sort of flattened out. Okay, fine. I'm going to keep that. And did that work? I think I want to use the clone tool now, probably. Okay, they haven't changed the hotkey for that. It's still C. So that's good. I'm going to turn the opacity down though. Okay, and again, what I'm trying to do here is just, some of this stuff seems kind of crazy and goofy, but, and I'm squinting because all that matters is what does this look like? You know, we're in a high up above shot. It's like the principle behind matte painting. If I ever make another conventional movie, I'm gonna eschew CGI in favor of traditional matte paintings, locked cameras, and plain old matte paintings, because I just think it's a cool art. It's really cool because there's so little detail. You know, Peter Ellenshaw used to say, you know, use a house painter's brush, like a 4-inch brush, to do matte paintings. Okay, so now that's pretty noisy, right? Looks pretty crummy. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, what's the size on this? 550 by 430. Yeah, so if we scale it up, that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do some curves, and we're going to make sure it's kind of on the dark side, right? We let it have just a little bit more highlight. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a layer of blue. So let's just fill it with blue. And then, for lack of a better idea, we'll use the overlay mode. And then crank down the... I will say one thing, it's really my only complaint actually on GIMP 2.10. And it was true with 2.8, actually, to be fair. Is the widget, I guess you'd say, for sliding a value higher or lower, its interaction is extremely choppy. Extremely choppy. And I get why. I mean, it's trying to give me real-time feedback. So in theory, that's a good thing. Alright, so now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to go anime, shots, shot 100. That's kind of where we're starting to actually get organized, right? And this is going to be ground from above XCS, and we're also going to shift E, or is it control E? I guess it's control E. Ground from above dot ping. See, and GIMP knew what I wanted to do. So thank you, GIMP. And that's generally true of GIMP. It seems to do the right thing in most cases. Okay, so now we can jump out of here. And again, I know that image looks really stupid. I didn't spend hardly any time on it. But look at this little snapshot here. What's that look like? I'm actually laughing because it looks so good. It looks like I'm up high and I'm looking down at the ground. It's not anything remotely close to the image I started with. So that's great. That's what we wanted. So let's go to OpenToonz, and where are we at in the project file here? We've got to go down. That's too far. Where the heck was it? I guess it was right here. Okay, so if I click here and hit insert, boom, it'll insert a new layer to the left of the one that I was selected. That's actually why I pointed that out, because I was guessing earlier, and you know, obviously you can drag the columns around, but I was thinking it would probably insert one to the right, in other words, after the one that you're using. It doesn't, and it inserts it to the left. Well, why does that matter? Well, it doesn't matter a lot, but if you insert it to the, but if you create a level and there's nothing in the level, you can't drag it around. You can't move its position. Well, maybe you can if you grab the header. No, you can't. There has to be something in the level in order to drag it around. So for that reason, I wanted to make sure I know, okay, if I select a level, is it going to insert the new one to the right or to the left? Well, guess what, folks? It inserts it to the left. So, lesson learned. Boom. So we're going to load it. We're not going to import it. And we'll just take our image viewer and stick it up on the other screen. And I think we can see what the problem is the scale of it is completely all wrong, but we've already got our animate tool set to scale. So if we go like this, and actually I think we'll do it like this. I think we'll give it a little rotation and then put the position there, and then it needs to be obviously behind our fellas. So I mean, come on. It looks awesome. I mean, right? Am I right? That looks really good. If we go ahead and let's just set a preview. Yeah, let's set a preview to go from here to here. I think the takeaway here is the fact that that as crappy as some of it looks early in the process, I want you to see that it looks pretty good late in the process. You know, once we get through the tweaking it out, okay, so here's what we have. Okay, could it be a little better in some ways? Add some details, some rim lights, which I was trying to do in Krita until I was ready to scream because it was so buggy yesterday. I finally gave up on trying to do such things in Krita, but I still want to do it here in OpenToonz. Even if we just animate a new raster level and draw the rim lights manually, would probably only take about 5 minutes, and so we could definitely touch these guys up. And by the way, they also need shadows. Now this guy can have a static shadow. The other guy's shadow clearly has to animate. But so that's just another step we need to take. But the upshot of this demonstration, if you will, is that the same thing you see here. Basically, why are we seeing that shot ghosting there? That's kind of interesting. Oh, I know why. Okay, where the heck is it? It's this shot right here. Oh, I know why. Right here. I had the onion skinning on. That's why it was tinted red as well. Okay, so yeah, so my point was, look how dumb this looks. Well, this looked dumb too when I started. So okay, so we'll get there, folks. We'll get there. Now the one thing I'm a little concerned about here is this table. That table is way too lightly colored. Okay, we got a little bit of a strange tinting thing going on there that I believe probably is indicative of a problem in Krita. I think it came out of Krita that way. Or was that Blender? I gotta think for a minute here. I think it was Krita. Do we need to re-export it? Well, I think we probably do, because as we can see here, nope, not there. I need to, ninjas, right? Yeah. Okay, so that is baked into the image sequence, and so we need to address that. All right, so let's save our work. And if I am not mistaken, what I'm looking for is coming from Krita. So we'll go to Krita. Did I switch my... Yeah, I did. I switched it back. Okay, hello Krita, my old, dearest, most precious friend. Load up all 4 gigabytes. I caught Krita lying to me yesterday. Krita was lying. Krita said it was using 4 gigabytes of memory. Guess how many it was really using? 8. Yeah. That's what Krita did. Okay. So let's get on downstream here. Whoops. Let's just scale forward. Okay, right there's your problem. Wish we had a way to stick a marker in there. Okay. At frame 123, we got ourselves a major problem here. We got some major problem. There's the problem right there. There's the problem right there. We're going to be in this layer. And hopefully, gosh, this would really be cool. Let's hit Control and grab that. And I don't want it to be so saturated. I'm going to hit the F key and fill it. Now, the question is it going to stay filled? And the answer is, of course not. But that's okay. Let's just suffer. Let's do it all the hard way. Because that's where we become a better person. Okay, so now we fix that. And then when I squint, I think the contrast is probably fine. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, if you can believe it, what I really need to do now, and I want to go back and double check this in OpenToonz, is I need to re-render the whole image sequence from Krita. And here's why. I do not trust Krita to not screw up my image sequence, which means if I were to render just the images that I'm interested in, would it number them correctly compared to the old images that had the entire sequence? The answer, I don't know. The intelligent thing to do would be to start the numbering at that frame. That's what OpenToonz does. In OpenToonz, if I hit Control R and generate a preview, and I'm somewhere in the middle of a project, if I click this button to save out these images that are now rendered, it starts the numbering where it actually falls in the project, that's the smart thing to do. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to find out if Krita's smart today. We're going to go to frame 123, taking careful note, by the way, of whether... Okay, the frame starts at 0, but that shouldn't matter. All that matters is the frame number here. So according to Krita, we are at frame 123. So if I hit render animation, and the first frame is going to be 123. And the last frame is going to be... Okay, let me double check this. 153. So we're going from 123 to 153. Let's see if Krita is good. 123 to 153. To be safe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder here called temp, or TMP, and we're gonna save it there. So, here we go. There's the answer, 123. So that will work. But it's going to start numbering it at 123. So now let's go here, and there's our temp folder, and look, there it is. It looks like it did what we hoped it would do. It is starting at wait, what is this? That's interesting. Krita started the numbering at 0246. Okay, okay. There's probably some alternate universe where that made sense. Yet another Krita-ism. Okay, you tell me, people, how stupid am I? Am I really that dumb? I must be. I'm starting at frame 123 and going to 153, which we can tell from, I should say, you guys weren't seeing this, but from the image viewer, you can see here, it is starting the render at the correct frame. Okay. However, the numbering is bizarre. Okay. So it goes from 246. So what does that tell us? This is Krita's idea of intelligence. Krita's idea of intelligence is if we start the numbering at 123, okay, and we're rendering from 123 to 153, what Krita's doing for us here, which is just amazing, is it isn't going to just start the numbering of whatever you're rendering at 123. So think about this for a minute. In other words, if I told it start the numbering at 5,000, you would think logically that it would go 5,000, 5,001, 5,002. Nope. What the Krita developers think is a good idea is if you tell it to start the numbering at whatever, it's going to think for you now. This is what I was ranting about yesterday. It's like so much AI stuff that's going on right now. It's thinking for you, and it always gets it spectacularly wrong. Okay, so what happened here is Krita thinks when I say start the numbering at 123, what that means is go back to the beginning of the project to frame 0 and add 123 to it. Now you think about it. If you're going to, well, just think about this logically. If I put nothing here, then what does that mean? That Krita, you would think what it means is just because of the fact that it's giving us the option of where to start the numbering, you would think it would start at 0. So in other words, the logical thing is no matter what the range is of frames you're rendering, I'm going to start with 0 or maybe 1 in terms of numbering the image sequence. That would be the logical thing, but of course it's not what we want. We want it to start at 123. Why? Because we're taking a cluster of images and we're replacing those images from a larger image sequence that's already saved. So that's why I saved it in the temp folder. Is I'm thinking if Krita screws this up, I've just destroyed my image sequence and I got to render the whole thing. Now admittedly that only takes a couple minutes. It's not a big deal. But no, what Krita thinks is smart is that if we tell it where to start the numbering, it's going to make, it isn't where it starts the numbering. It's an offset. From Krita's perspective, it's saying, tell us what you want the offset to be. And I'm thinking, what would the application be where that way of doing it actually makes any sense or is useful? Maybe it is, but I can't see it. To me, if I tell you to start the numbering at 3333, then the first frame you render should be numbered 3333. The next one is 3334. And the only reason you do that is because for some reason you don't want it to start at 0. But what Krita thinks is what that means is you don't want it to start at 123. So, logically, I would say if I do nothing, it's going to render it starting at 123. And look at here, frames with the anime naming scheme exist. Okay, it's going in the temp folder. Okay, so now this is interesting. We're going from 123 to 153. It's only 30 frames. And the prior sequence where Krita did it its wonderfully brilliant way started at 246. What that means is there can't be a collision. That means this image sequence will not overwrite any of the files I overwrote that I wrote just a few minutes ago. Yet, Krita, I've been sarcastic in saying that Krita is smart, but actually this is not smart. This is stupid. This is how stupid Krita is. We're worried because these shots are going to be deleted 246, which we can't possibly ever hit that number. The collision can't take place unless Krita is so amazingly stupid that it's actually going to keep using the numbering scheme from before, even though I just changed it. I changed the offset to nothing. But because it's not an actual number, In other words, I didn't put 0 in that box. Maybe what Krita thinks is, oh, well, we better fall back on doing what we did last time. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, it's rendering. And I'm going to go look in the folder. Oh, this is rich. This is rich. Okay, so now what Krita did, so stupid. Unbelievably dumb. Now what it did was it actually doubled it. It took 123 and added another 123. There's still no collision possible. Do I need to elaborate? Oh my gosh. 456, 457. It's just like, what planet are these developers living on, man? It's so stupid. Render the animation. Okay, so why did it? Oh, it's because it's my fault. I'm sorry, this one's my fault. I left that 333 in there. I'm going to delete it entirely. And now we're going to get 123 through 153. And if that's true, then what I'm going to do, just to be safe, sorry about that, folks. Okay, I better hit refresh here. What do we got? Okay, so I changed that to 0, but it still numbered it starting at 457. Okay, it did it again. Okay, this is how amazingly stupid not Krita is. This is how amazingly stupid the developers are. It put the 333 back in. Okay, so this is Krita's idea of how it's going to help you. If you're so amazingly stupid that you don't want to modify the normal natural numbering, in other words, if I'm going from 123 to 153, one of two things should happen. Either it's going to just start rendering numbering them 0, or it's going to start at 123, one or the other. Not in Krita land. In Krita land, you better fill in this number, because if you don't, it's going to fill in for you whatever was the last number somebody just happened to type in there. See? Because see, it's empty. Watch what happens. I can't even believe how stupid this is. Yep, 456. Stunning. Well, if any of you wondered why I've given up on Krita as an animation tool, you're seeing it in living color right now. Okay, so we have to do it yet again. In other words, if I had trusted Krita to do the intelligent thing, all of my image sequence would have been completely wrecked. Okay, so it put 333 back in for me. So I'm going to put 0. Now, is it going to start numbering them at 0, or is it going to treat it as an offset and number it starting at 123? I think it's going to do the right thing this time, even though it's doing the right thing, in my opinion, for the wrong reasons. And I was correct. It's 123. However, I still don't trust Krita, so I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to hit Control X. Actually, no, I'm going to hit Control C. And then I'm going to go here to Image Sequence Ninjas, and I'm going to go to image 123 and just make sure that this is exactly the correct image. It is. So now I can hit Control V, and it is going to replace them. Apply to all. Okay, so now things have happened in the manner in which I expected, and my distaste for Krita and my, by the way, it's still lying to me. It's still saying here 4.0 gig. It's not 4.0 gig. Let's just see. Let's see how wonderful and inept the developers of Krita are, and how many wonderful little details they just sort of leave sitting in the toilet. Well, it looks here like Krita's using 5620. It didn't take the Windows Task Manager any time to figure that out, but apparently Krita can't figure that out. So then the question you would ask yourself, this is why it bothers me. The question you would ask yourself is, why would you even tell me? You know, why would you even indicate front and center at the top of the screen how much memory Krita is using unless you feel it's important? Why would you even put it there? And if you feel it's important, gosh, kick me if I'm wrong. But wouldn't you think maybe it's important that that number actually be accurate? No. Not in Krita land. In Krita land, like I said yesterday, it's all about how you feel. If you feel good that it's only using 4 gigs of memory, then your life is really much better. Okay, so I'm going to wait half a second and see if OpenToonz actually updates based on that image sequence. It's looking here like it's going to crash. But to be fair, I've seen this happen with OpenToonz where it's looked crashy, but if you just wait, it turns out it's kind of getting its act together and everything's okay. So I think I saved my work anyway. So let's go ahead and let OpenToonz crash. I clicked on it so it'll crash. And doesn't seem to want to let me. Normally if I click on it and it's going to crash and I click again, I get a little window that says it's not responsive, and then I can go ahead and kill it. In this case, it appears I can't kill it, so here's hoping I haven't lost much work. Let's blame it on Krita. God, so amazing how stupid Krita is. It's actually, it borders on one of the dumber programs I've ever used, if the truth be known. Just comically dumb. Okay, so let's see if we've lost any work. We've still got this in there, and this is why, another reason why I like OpenToonz. Even though it crashed, I didn't lose anything, basically. But one thing that is strange, look at that. It's still the same image sequence. That's mysterious. That's really mysterious. Because when I go back here to the image sequence, oh, I know what I did. I had one that had no shadows, so that's my mistake. Okay. I am more than happy to take responsibility when I have screwed up. I just need to copy these frames into the other. Okay, now that's interesting. Okay, we've got a malformed image sequence. Okay, never mind. Here's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to kill this, and we're going to open Krita, and we're going to re-render the whole sequence, and then reopen OpenToonz, and everything will be back to normal. So, a little bit careless on my part. The basic problem is that the image sequence is kind of named stupidly. Anyway, long story short, it's my fault. So let's go. And as you guys know, I'm trying to get away from Krita as fast as possible. So it's like every time I have to reopen the project in Krita, I'm going, oh. Now, to be fair, I'll talk about this while this loads. To be fair. And by the way, it looks like I've got the shadows turned off here. So that's not good. I do want the color correction turned off. I'd rather save that for later. So I'm going to file save. Okay. And as usual, Krita is going to take quite a bit of time here to save the document. Tick tock, tick tock. Okay. Alright. So yeah, we got a little weirdness there with the shadow, and we could always come back and change that later, but okay, so there, everything looks good. Super duper. So here's what we're going to do. File, render, and we're going to go, I honestly, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to completely re-render the whole thing. I mean, I'm going to put it in a separate new folder and actually re-import it into OpenToonz, I think. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kill this folder because it's literally not relevant to the project. So image sequence ninjas, no shadows. Kill it. Okay. Image sequence ninjas. Should I take my chances? The reason not to take my chances is that the numbering scheme is bizarre. And that's my fault because I was thinking for Krita and I assumed it needed me to tell it to put in 4 decimal places. So then it put in, so I named the images ninjas.0000 dot. And then what Krita did was add 4 more digits and a dot to the file name. So I need to do the same thing again, or else I can't overwrite it. So image sequence ninjas. Let's go here. We'll select that, and we're going to call this ninjas.000.40. Sorry. Start numbering 0, and of course, Krita is dumber than a box of rocks and wants to start at 253. So I have no idea what the last frame is. So I'm just going to say 266. As long as it's more than the actual number there, we're going to be in good shape. So going here, we see that the first one is 0.0000. Let's see what the last one is. 153. Oh, I see. Duh. My bad. 225. So it's 225. All right. Hate to do it. We're going to delete them all. Okay. Come back here. And I believe what we just figured out was that it was 255. Didn't we? I think so. We're in the correct folder. So now it should all render for me. Let's go take a peek. And yep, there it is. And as expected, the numbering is a bit silly. But as we can see, it's also rendering properly. Everything looks fine. And I think we're done. Okay, so File, Save. And let's kill Krita because it's always fun to... Oh, I see. So it's done rendering, but Krita thinks it's not done rendering. It's a big shock. Okay, you know, and to be fair, the features in Krita are very, very cool. My main objection is don't tout a feature or even talk about it when it's implemented so carelessly that it's unusable. You know, be cool enough to wait. Okay. So why is that getting darker right there? Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually look individually at frames 123, 124. Yeah, see, look at that. You see that right there? See that? Okay. So the problem with that color right there, that little color change, that is Krita. But the question is it actually Krita or is it me? Did I do something strange with the filtering or something so that the color actually did change in Krita? Because it's probably, that one's probably my fault. Unfortunately, much to my chagrin, we need to go back into Krita one more time. It's getting hot in here, so I'm going to go ditch the hoodie. Hoodie is officially ditched. Okay, so now let's just go back here. You know, and another point I guess I would make is that all software has idiosyncrasies. So, yep, there it is. There's the change in color. Same, same, same. I'm thinking it's the shadow layer. I'll bet you there is a Okay, first thing I need to look at is, turn this off. Okay, so everything is comprised in here. So I'm saying, let's turn off that shadow layer and see if that makes a difference. Yep, that's what it is. So that is definitely my fault. Okay, so here we have the shadow layer. And what I think must have happened is, okay, that doesn't, oh my God. I'm sorry, people. What you just saw is so Krita. It's so Krita. It's what Krita does. Did you see what just happened? Is there any explanation for that at all? Oh my gosh. I hate this program. I gotta hit undo. Control Z. Jeez. Okay, maybe layer 7 is the shadow layer, so maybe if I remove this frame, duplicate it here, I think that'll do the trick. Okay, that solved it, so no problem. So I'm gonna save the project and re-render, and we're gonna do it the Krita way. We're gonna do it the Krita way. We're gonna be bold, and we're gonna do it the Krita way. And the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna go from 123 to 150. We'll just go 155. I think it was 153, but I don't remember. It doesn't matter. We've got the file name right. We're starting the numbering at 0, so it should overwrite them. And see, this is where again Krita is mind-numbingly stupid. I'm rendering from 123 to 153, but what it warns me is that these are the files that are in danger. 0000001, 2. I'm gonna just assume that Krita's stupid and that in spite of itself, it's gonna do the right thing. And it did. Oh, I see. I see what's going on. Yep. This is yet another illustration of how mind-numbingly stupid Krita is. Krita assumed, I just love the way it thinks for me. It says, oh, I see, you want to render frames 123 through 155. Okay, so that means if there's any files in that folder, we'll delete them for you, because you couldn't possibly want to keep them. Of course not. No, no, no. You didn't want to keep them. You wanted to delete them. And we're thinking for you, because you're so stupid you can't think for yourself. So we're not going to do what you ask us to do. We're going to do that and so much more. Well, there you have it, folks. Krita deleted the entire image sequence and replaced it with just the limited sequence that I asked it to render. Have you ever in your life seen a program so amazingly stupid that you can't even describe it? I haven't. It defies belief, actually. It's like, how do you actually manage to be that dumb? Is the question. Oh my goodness. It's so sad. It's just so pathetically sad. Oh man. And I've been ranting lately about AI. You know, you see it in the social media sphere, you see it on YouTube, you see it on Google, you definitely see it on Facebook, is to the extent that these AI, genius AI programs are implemented, they are so amazingly bad at what they do. And it's just, my basic rule is if a computer guesses what to do, it will always guess wrong. It just will always, always, always guess wrong. Now, sometimes does it guess right? Of course. But basically, it never guesses right. It always does the stupid thing. Because the thing that you have to realize with software development, if you're a developer, this is the thing you have to realize. no matter how carefully you plan, the user is going to do something within 2 minutes. This is true of software, it's true of websites. Whatever you think as a developer that the user is going to do, you're wrong. You have to assume you're wrong. Okay? The worst thing you can ever do in software development is think you know what the user is going to do and predict it, and then especially the worst sin is to think for them and try to implement that for them preemptively. Stupidest thing you can ever do, because you will always be wrong. And what I found is that software that is right or smart has certain characteristics in common. OpenToonz is one of them. Despite its definite bugs, it's one of the smart ones. Blender is definitely one of the smart ones. Another one is Reaper. Reaper is one of the smart ones. What do you see in these software applications that seem to be common characteristics of smart software? I'll tell you, the biggest one is right here. Look at how long the menus are. The developers don't assume they know what we want to do. They just give us the option. And the trade-off for that is you have to do a lot of research and take your time and learn the software. So, hey Val, today I've discovered about 3 or 4 new ways that Krita is so amazingly dumb you can't even describe it. But fortunately, I'm pretty much done with it now. So I think I'm done with it. I hope I'm done with it. Look at that, it worked. It worked, it worked. That's a quote from a Disney movie. Oh, which one is it? It worked, it worked. What Disney movie is that? It's one of the cartoons like from the 60s, 70s era, like the Robin Hood kind of. It's kind of Disney's, probably the valley of Disney's, story. Anyway, all right, I'm actually gonna stop here and go hang out with Val for a bit. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll just continue on later.